Hello everyone, Suzanne here. It's good to connect with you again. It's important for me to connect with you. It's important for all of us to connect with one another, particularly forever and for all time. I have been on retreat for some time, and now that I'm venturing out, I'm wondering if you will venture with me. I am wanting to go on a journey, and part of my journey is welcoming you beside me, because it's a light-filled journey, but there's also dark corners, and it's good to have a friend, a companion. So I thank you for being wherever you are as you're watching me. The journey I want to talk about is the journey of birth, life, and death. That's a big topic, isn't it? You now know why I've been underground in deep meditation and thought and prayer about this. But the first thing that I want to talk about is really birth. And I will spend some time about that, about what we learn from being born and what we learn from childhood and the things that we carry in our soul, in our spirit. But I think more importantly, when we're talking about birth, is what we carry in our body and the relationship that we have to the body of the world, and to our own body, to one another's body. I was reminded the other day in my work, because I had such a great teaching, powerful teaching from a client, and it was an uncomfortable teaching, but one that I needed to wrestle with and go deeper with. And so as I was wrestling, I was reminded of Alice Miller. She was a Swiss psychologist who, among other books, as The Gifted Child was one, but the book that really resonated with me was Thou Shalt Not Be Aware. And this is really a commandment of our culture. And this book she wrote 40 years ago, and it was bringing into light issues of child abuse, issues of the humiliated and the neglected child. And this was very groundbreaking. This was very, very unsettling for the status quo. And of course, we've come an awfully long way in 40 years of how we regard children. I'm not convinced that we regard our own child body, our own little innocent creaturely body, in a very different way. I think that there is a lot of contempt, a lot of the rule, thou shalt not be aware. Thou shalt not be aware of what you feel. Thou shalt not be aware of what you need. Thou shalt not be aware that you are free. And all of this really comes from our birth, because we come into a world seeking love, seeking attachment, and we all are wired that way. We don't have to make it up. We are wired that way. And yet we come into a world often where those needs, just our capacity to be seen and heard and held, it's not celebrated, and it's not often given. And there's lots of reasons for this, of course. It's nobody's fault. Often it is a cultural, and it is a generational and a multi-generational thing that has happened. But as we are there, at a very, very young age, and we realize that we are in fact separate. We are separate from Mother. We are separate. We have a body, and we find our little fingers, and we see our little fingers, and this shocking reality that we are separate. And what do we do? What do we do? We do whatever we must to survive. We do whatever is required to fill the gaps, if there are gaps, in the relationships with those that we are so dependent upon. We do whatever we need to do. Bless us. But one of the things that we do is we fall to the rule of thou shalt not be aware. And sadly, often what happens is we are then left rejecting something of our own heart, of our own body. So my invitation for today is, number one, are you willing to go down this path with me? And are you willing to appreciate, to be aware of how you have fallen to the rule of thou shalt not be aware? When you bring judgment to yourself, judgment to others, contempt of self, all of these are symptoms. All of these are the body trying to get our attention. It is innocent. It is wanting to come out of the dark. It's wanting to come into awareness. This awareness that was with you and me before we were born. What do you think? This body, this life. What do I know about this body in this moment? When I simply hold my hands and look at my hands, and what have they done? They actually learned how to tie a shoe, and I can remember how horrible that was. And they've learned many things. And they are storing all the healing that wants to come forward into the light. So as we abandon this awareness of our body, We are homeless. So this journey is about returning to the garden. I hope you'll join me. Bless you.